been thinking about making a video on scams on eBay and how bad they can be, and do they make it so it's not worth doing eBay, because you are going to run into scammers if you are selling on eBay. And thought now's the perfect time. I'm driving to some meetings in downtown Seattle. Well, I could talk about scams for a little bit. And they exist. And do they make it so that eBay's not worth it because there are scammers? And I think the answer to that is no, as long as you're smart about it and just be a normal human being. Because honestly, if you are looking to go into business at all, you're going to run into scammers. Now, in the retail environment, we don't call them scammers, we call them shoplifters. But the concept is the same. It's people trying to get something for nothing. So any business that you're in, you're going to run into scammers or thieves or bad actors. So eBay is no different. It's just you have to be aware of how the scammers will try to approach you. And I think the first step is, if you really want to avoid scams as much as possible, choose a niche that doesn't have as much of a problem with that. Now, I do mostly hard goods, very little clothing, like almost none. My son, Evan, Thrift Nerd 1, he likes to play with Apple products. And Apple products, there's a lot of scamminess in there. There's lots of fake products that come from China that are said to be legitimate iPhones, and they're not. So there's all sorts of scams around Apple products. There's scams around shoes, people that collect Nike shoes, designer goods, handbags. Those things are just rife with scammers. Not that you can't make money in them and still prosper in those niches. You can. It's just you're going to have to be more on guard. So I'm coming at it from the perspective of hard goods, vintage electronics, sporting goods, things of that nature. And the things that people will try to do most of the time to me is the got item, it doesn't work, I want to return it. Or I got the item, it doesn't work, what are we going to do? That's my first red flag. Because if you got something and it doesn't work, there's a very clear process with eBay. You initiate a return, and then depending on whether I'm paying the shipping, you're paying the shipping, or whatever, when I get it back, I will issue the refund. So when people start giving me a narrative or a dialogue about how it doesn't work, that's my first red flag. It doesn't mean that they're bad actors necessarily, but when you start getting lots of questions, what are we going to do? How do you want to fix this? That can be a flag. Now, sometimes people are legitimately asking, how do we fix this? And I've walked people through, okay, maybe the belt broke on the CD player. I'll send you a new belt, walk you through how to replace it, and they're happy, and I fix it for them at a distance. But when you start getting a narrative, that's your first ping. Something might be wrong here. And what they're really going for is that you will just say, I'll just issue a refund, and you just immediately issue them a refund. They say, oh, the remote I got, it doesn't work. And you're like, whatever, here's a refund, just so you can move on. Because it's a business decision to not mess with returns sometimes, a lot, because it takes time and effort. And I've done it. I had one that went to Mexico one time, worked great. Guy got it, said, doesn't work. And I paid like $2 for it. I think I sold it for 30. And I was like, oh, I'm not even going to put any time in this. Refunded him. Is that a scammer? Maybe. And so that's the most common thing that I see. And I've got one going on right now, actually. A guy got a VCR, this is Sony, which are generally pretty durable. I tested it out, even had a video in the listing of it working, fast forward, rewinding. He got it, says, it doesn't work, it doesn't rewind. Really? I mean, things can break in shipping, but I don't think that's one that's gonna break. So he says, what are we gonna do? He said, I want to return. What do I do? I said, well, initiate a return within the eBay processes. When I get it back, I'll refund you 100%. And so a couple days go by. He initiates the return. And I think at that point, he was hoping that I would just say, forget it. Initiated return, I'll give him a refund and move on. But I didn't, because I have to pay for the postage, right? He's thinking, well, I'm not going to want to pay for the postage to return it, so I'll just give a refund. But I'm like, nah, I'm going to pay for the postage on this one. So I bought the shipping label. It's been 4 days now. Still hasn't come back. Still hasn't shipped it. So I don't know if this is a scam or not, but it smells like one to me. We'll see. So that's the most common flavor of scam that I see. Now, some other things that we've run into are the I didn't get the item, wasn't delivered. Even though you got a tracking number, right? You say, I didn't get it. And then they're like, well, I didn't get my item. I want my money back. And now it can get complicated with eBay. Um, so I generally, if something is $100 or more, I will slap signature required on it that you've got to sign to get your product. And that's never really been a problem. Maybe once somebody got upset about that, but I've shipped thousands and thousands of items, and only one time has somebody been grumpy about it. And it saved a sale one time. This guy said that they didn't get it. We were like, you signed for it. It's right there. There's your signature. He's like, I didn't get it. Like, and he started an investigation with eBay, and eBay's like, that's your signature. You signed for it. You got it. No. And so he didn't get his money back on that one because we had the signature delivery. Now, I've also had it where there wasn't a signature delivery on something and somebody's claimed that they didn't get it and started to crab to eBay, and it still was, eBay was like, yeah, no, it shows that the carrier delivered it, and that's as far as it goes. So they're just out. So even with tracking can sometimes cover your bacon, but they'll try with I didn't get it. So if you really want to head that off, signature delivery is the way to make sure. Another scam we had was printer. It's a nice printer. I forget which one it was, but it was a color printer. It was like a $350 sale. He got the printer, all was well. He says it doesn't work. Oh man, it's gonna be so expensive to ship that dude back. But it's still worth it. We can still get it back, resell it, maybe make a little bit of money. Neutral. So send it back. So he dutifully sent it back to us. But he took out all the toner, he took out the drum, he kept the power cord. We're like, no, you got to return the whole thing, bud. So he's just trying to he probably has the exact same printer, and he just wanted free supplies. Sent your printer back, I want my money back. We're like, no. So we're like, went back and forth with him a little bit and said, hey, we'll give you a refund. You got to send back the toner, the drum, and the power cord first, though. And he said, okay. And then it escalated to eBay, and it went back and forth, and it got denied that we were denied on our end that we'd have to give him the refund. We appealed and got it further up the flagpole, and eBay came back and said, you know what? You don't owe this guy a refund because when you asked him to send back the rest of the stuff, he said okay, which means he has it. We're like, exactly. And so we didn't have to have a refund there. But that's a variation on the scam of getting in a toll booth here. So hold on. That's a variation on the scam of returning, instead of returning whatever they bought from you, returning a rock. And then they can say, look, I returned it. And then you got to sort out that that's not really what you got. So that's a variation there. Another scam that I had one time, this was interesting, and this one is to be aware of. I had a DeLonghi, if that's how you pronounce it, DeLongihi, I think it's how you spell espresso machine. And it sold while I was sleeping. And about 15 minutes later, a chargeback was initiated with the bank saying that it didn't work. And I wake up to this. I'm like, well, not only, I haven't even shipped it. How do you know it doesn't work? So I'm like, well, this is crazy. Why didn't they just do a refund through the normal processes on eBay? And my first inclination was, I'll just do that, and we'll just end this process and just be done with it. I mean, I haven't shipped it. I'm not out any money. Hold on, I got the toll booth here. 1 second. All right, getting ready to cross the Narrows Bridge, Old Gertie, the one that Galloping Gertie that collapsed. All right, so she says it doesn't work. I'm like, well, you've never gotten it. I'll just refund through the normal eBay processes. But my brain went, this is weird, and weird is often a problem. So I'm like, I'm gonna check with eBay, and eBay said, yeah, good thing you just didn't refund her because she would have gotten the refund from us. And then if the chargeback goes through, it's a separate process. You'd be refunding her twice. And I'm like, oh. So they said, just hold tight, see what happens with the chargeback. And I did. And so it took a long time. And while I was waiting, she reached out and said, hey, can you just refund me? I'm like, no, you started a chargeback waiting for that to be done. And so I think it took a week and a half. But eventually the bank sided with her and gave her money back. But I wasn't out any money because I didn't refund it through the eBay process. So don't refund through the eBay process if somebody initiates a chargeback. Something to keep in mind. So those are the scammers and some things that they could try. Obviously, that's not everything that they might try. But when people start with a narrative or wanting to go outside eBay protocols or like pay something on PayPal, just stay on the eBay platform for communications. Stay on the eBay platform for all payments. You'll be fine. You start going outside of it, you're going to run into troubles. So that's kind of it. Hope that helps. Until next time.
If you are an eBay reseller or thinking of becoming one because of debt, you should check out the Financial Acumen course, as seen on World Business with Kathy Ireland. The Financial Acumen course is designed to teach you all the things you never learned about money, debt, and investments in school, but should have. It teaches you how to take control of your finances with proven principles and strategies to get out of debt and build your retirement nest egg for a wealthy lifestyle. The course is fully narrated and includes videos and animations along with exercises and assignments that are supported by a downloadable workbook. And I spent an afternoon discussing it with supermodel turned businesswoman Kathy Ireland. You can see that conversation over at yourdebtfreefuture.com. The course is not giving financial advice. It is simply teaching concepts that will supercharge your financial literacy and make you more money savvy. To get started, head over to yourdebtfreefuture.com. Until next time, happy thrifting.